There's a moment when attraction stops being casual, a moment when curiosity turns into concern, when interest turns into attachment, and most men miss it. Not because women hide it perfectly, but because emotional attachment doesn't look like movies or social media. It looks subtle, it sounds quiet, and it shows up in ways that are easy to misread. Today, we're breaking down 7 things women do when they're emotionally attached. Not what they say, but what their behavior reveals. This isn't dating advice. This isn't manipulation. This is psychology and observation. And by the end of this video, you'll never confuse politeness with attachment again. 1. She starts tracking you without making it obvious. When a woman is emotionally attached, she becomes aware of your patterns in a way that goes far beyond surface-level memory. This isn't done in a creepy way or with any ill intent. It happens in a subconscious way. Her brain begins to categorize you as a priority, and therefore it starts to log data points to ensure the connection is stable. She remembers the small things that even you might forget. What time you usually reply to texts, your daily routines, and your specific habits. Like how you always drink coffee at 10 a.m. or how you head to the gym on Tuesdays. She notices when you disappear from your usual grid. Because she has a baseline for your normal, she notices changes before you announce them. If your energy shifts, even slightly, she feels it. If your responses slow down from their usual cadence, she senses it immediately. Emotional attachment heightens perception. It turns up the volume on the signals you are sending out. She may not ask questions or interrogate you about why you were 30 minutes late to text back, but she's collecting information quietly to gauge the health of the bond. This isn't control or an attempt to put you on a leash. It's investment. The human mind naturally pays attention to what it cares about most. When she tracks your rhythm, she is essentially learning your song. 2. She adjusts her behavior around you. Emotionally attached women don't just express feelings through flowery language or heart emojis. They adapt their very presence to harmonize with yours. You might notice she starts to change how she speaks to you, perhaps using a more intimate tone or adopting inside vocabulary that only the two of you share. She might become softer, exhibiting a nurturing side you hadn't seen, or even more cautious, as the stakes of losing the connection have suddenly become real. She might actively avoid behaviors that might push you away, self-regulating her reactions to ensure harmony. She does this not because you asked her to change, or because she is losing her identity, but because your opinion now matters to her on a fundamental level. This is one of the clearest signs of attachment that exists in social psychology. Indifference doesn't adapt. If someone doesn't care about you, they stay exactly as they are. Take it or leave it. Attachment does the opposite. When someone starts adjusting themselves emotionally to fit better within the space you provide, they've already crossed a line internally. They are no longer just visiting your life. They are trying to move in. 3. She tests emotional safety, not attraction. This is where many men get confused and where relationships often hit their first major speed bump. In the early stages, a woman might test attraction, seeing if there is chemistry or if you find her beautiful. But when a woman is emotionally attached, she stops testing attraction and starts testing emotional security. She is no longer wondering, does he like me? She is wondering, can I trust him with my heart? To the untrained eye, this can look like conflict. She may disagree more. Not to be difficult, but to see if it's safe to have a different opinion. Bring up uncomfortable topics, to see if you are willing to go deep or if you'll run away. Ask questions that feel unnecessary, seeking layers of context that provide a sense of knowing. She does this not to argue, but to see how you react under pressure. She is looking to see if you remain calm when things aren't perfect and if your behavior is consistent over time. Emotional attachment wants reassurance. It is a vulnerable state to be in, so the brain looks for pillars of strength to lean on. She doesn't want reassurance through words. Anyone can say, "I'm here for you," but through response. How you handle tension tells her more than compliments ever could. If you can handle her real self, she feels safe enough to stay attached. 4. She becomes protective of the connection. Here's a subtle one that is frequently overlooked because it often manifests as a lack of action rather than an overt one. When emotionally attached, she protects the bond, even silently, from external and internal threats. Because she values the connection, she becomes wary of anything that might damage it. She may get quiet instead of confrontational, choosing her words carefully to avoid a blow-up. Withdraw instead of explode, taking space to process her emotions so she doesn't say something she regrets. Observe instead of accuse, giving you the benefit of the doubt while she gathers her thoughts. This isn't disinterest or a sign that she is pulling away, it's caution. It is the behavior of someone holding a piece of expensive china. They move slowly because they don't want to drop it. She doesn't want to damage what matters to her. Emotionally unattached people don't protect connections. If a problem arises, they simply replace them with the next person in line. Protection signals value. If she is being careful with you, it's because you are worth the effort of the care. 5. She mentally includes you in her future. This doesn't always sound like planning a wedding or picking out house colors. In fact, if it's true emotional attachment, it's often much more subtle language that slips into the cracks of everyday conversation. She might say things like, "We would probably love that movie. You'd like this place I saw today. You'd understand why that annoyed me." In these moments, she's mentally placing you into her world. She is no longer thinking in terms of I, but in terms of we. Attachment rewires perspective at a neurological level. You're no longer optional. You are a permanent fixture in the gallery of her mind. You're becoming a reference point for her experiences. When she sees something funny, she thinks of your reaction. When she plans her month, she leaves a gap where you usually fit. And once someone starts seeing life through a shared lens, detachment becomes difficult because she would have to rip you out of the mental future she has already built. 6. She notices your absence more than your presence. Here's something most people don't understand about the physics of emotion. Presence is the baseline, but absence is the catalyst. Emotionally attached women don't react strongest to attention. They have grown used to that and enjoy it. They react strongest to absence. Not because they want control. This isn't about knowing where you are every second, but because attachment creates expectation. When you disappear or break your usual pattern of contact, she feels the gap in her day. It feels like a missing limb. Because she is invested, she replays interactions to see if she did something wrong, and she analyzes silence to see if the connection is cooling. Presence feels good and comfortable, like a warm blanket. Absence feels loud, like a ringing in the ears. Indifference doesn't notice absence. If you don't call an indifferent person, they simply forget you exist for a while. Attachment does the opposite. It makes your not being there the most prominent thing in her mind. 7. She becomes emotionally affected by your emotional state. This is the deepest sign, the point of no return for emotional bonding. When she's emotionally attached, your emotional state begins to influence hers through a process called emotional contagion. The walls between yourself and herself become porous. If you're calm, she relaxes, feeling that the world is in order. If you're distant, she feels unsettled and anxious, even if she can't put her finger on why. If you're stressed, she senses it through your body language and tone, and she begins to carry that stress herself. This isn't dependency or clinging, it's emotional resonance. It is the result of two instruments being tuned to the same frequency. Care creates sensitivity, and sensitivity creates emotional mirroring. She is in sync with you because she has allowed her heart to beat in time with yours. Why most men misread these signs? The tragedy of many relationships is that men and women often speak two different emotional languages. Most men look for words. They wait for her to say, "I love you," or "I'm attached." Confessions. They expect a sit-down talk about the status of the relationship. Direct statements. They want clear, logical markers. But emotional attachment shows up in behavior, not declarations. Women often feel that showing is more honest than telling. Quiet changes matter more than loud ones because loud statements can be faked. But the subtle shift in how someone tracks your habits or mirrors your stress is nearly impossible to manufacture. Emotional attachment isn't dramatic like it is on a movie screen. It's gradual, it's subtle, it's a slow-growing vine, not a sudden explosion, and it's easy to miss, unless you're paying attention to the right signals. When you stop looking for fireworks and start looking for rhythm, the truth becomes clear. If you understand behavior, you don't need constant verbal reassurance. You can see the attachment in the way she adjusts her voice when you're tired, or how she remembers you have a big meeting on a random Thursday. And if you found this breakdown helpful, subscribe for more psychology-based insights on human behavior and emotional dynamics. We dive deep into the why behind the what, helping you navigate the complex world of human connection with clarity and confidence. Because once you understand why people act the way they do, everything changes. You move from a world of confusion to a world of connection.